I have promised to make this short today because I need to make a Squirtle Lego set, and that is more important than anything I have to say about history, which is valid. On April 22nd of 1721, a ship arrived in the Boston Bay called the HMS Seahorse, and on the HMS Seahorse was smallpox. Now, at the time, smallpox was completely untreatable as far as like vaccines go. And when it arrived in a port, it would slowly go through the population. And that's exactly what happened in Boston. Boston had not had a smallpox outbreak for about 20 years. So that meant that all of the kids all the way up to age 20 had no exposure before this, which meant that it was ready for an outbreak. And smallpox was incredibly deadly. Overall, it had a 16 to 17% death rate. In this Boston outbreak, it had a 14.6% outbreak, I believe, or death rate. So half the population ends up getting smallpox. Of that half, about 14.6% die. And this is also the first outbreak that has happened in Boston since this guy named Cotton Mather, yes, that Cotton Mather, has this conversation set with this guy. This guy's name, he named him Onesimus, but his name is not known, his true name, his date of birth is not known. He was an enslaved person brought over from Africa on a slaving ship, and he arrived and was sold to Cotton Mather, paid for as a gift from Cotton Mather's church congregation. And as somebody that has been part of gathering some funds for congregational gifts to ministers, this just makes me anyway. So we're at the point in early mid 1705, 1706 that this congregational gift of a human being is bought, and that conversations that happen after center on this guy's scar, because on his arm he has a smallpox vaccination scar. So in Africa, there are multiple cultures that are doing this rudimentary smallpox vaccination where they scrape the arm and it results in people having immunity. And Cotton Mather has had conversations with this guy, right? And about this process. And so when smallpox hits, he decides that he's going to try to do this. And he does it to a bunch of people. And it works, right? Smallpox has a 14.5% death rate in Boston, this particular outbreak. And it has a 2% death rate in the people who are properly inoculated through this. Now, this is not a true vaccine, but it sets the stage for the smallpox vaccine. And the next couple of outbreaks that happen, they do better testing, better science on this. And then eventually they figure out a smallpox vaccine. And eventually smallpox is eradicated, which is a huge deal because smallpox was this absolutely terrible virus that's going around, has a very high mortality rate, but also has a very high like disfigurement and disability rate that comes after it. So to be able to control smallpox was a major achievement. And it happened partially because the HMS Seahorse arrived in the Boston Bay on April 22nd. I'm going to go make a Squirtle.